Hey, my friends, it's Melissa. I'm really psyched to be sitting here with my dear friend and colleague, multi-Grammy winning, multi-platinum selling producer and songwriter and artist development extraordinaire, my dear friend, Mike Mangini. Thank you for being here today.
It's great. Can't wait.
So Mike and I talk pretty much every day. You recently told me how much you've been enjoying coaching and developing artists into becoming their own producers over the last few years that we've been working together on this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the joy I feel or the excitement I feel helping a young person to develop, whether that was back in the day working with the Jonas Brothers on their first record and seeing them like kind of blossom into a big thing, or seeing somebody for the very first time decide they're going to make their own record, help them with that process and have them come out the other end of it, having really been able to make something amazing that was in their head and they didn't know how to do it. But like it is oddly the same exact emotional feeling for me of like knowing that somebody has a lot of talent and helping them to tap into it and be able to build a career from that. So it feels very similar, oddly enough.
All right, so let's kick off our 4-phase framework with artist development. I feel like this is the most misunderstood term in our world today. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I hear it from artists, they're usually looking for marketing, branding, someone needs to come in and tell me who I am and tell me what type of music I should be making or how to market it. And I actually see it packaged that way still today. So can you reveal the truth behind that particular myth around artist development?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in order to know where we are now, it's important to know where we were. So where we were for a very long time was there were actually creative people that worked at record companies, and their jobs were to truly find just talented people and help them figure out who they wanted to be artistically and help them over a number of years to help them develop an identity and a musical sort of direction and all those things. And that was something the music business was for a very long time. But as we've gotten more towards the internet and specifically towards streaming music, the model of how record companies interact with artists has really changed. And now the onus is completely on you to do all those things for yourself. So where once upon a time you could just be a talented person that someone saw, oh, look at all that raw talent. We will develop that raw talent. Now, I'd say fortunately, like rather than unfortunately, but I'd say fortunately you are now in control of developing yourself, which I think, although it might seem daunting, actually is a gift because you know who you are and you know what you want to be and you have the room to figure that out and then to present yourself in a way that you want the world to see you. And the world, the consumer, sees you before the industry. So you're already establishing your musical identity and who you are artistically and even visually and in all senses, like as a package of an artist, you're putting that out to fans and to the consumer before the industry even realizes you exist. It's a tall task, but it's in a certain respect, I think, amazing because you can truly figure out who you are and present that and then whoever wants to embrace that can embrace your vision for yourself.
I think part 2 of this conversation is how do you make sure that, okay, if it's my responsibility to get out there, in the world, and it's my responsibility to really complete that arc as much as possible, how do I know that the songs I'm putting out, the content I'm putting out is really like fully baked and special and will actually cut through the noise of how many songs are released on Spotify a day now? Are we up to 100,000
Yeah.
songs a day, right? So I think a lot of people skip the step of artist development, A, because they don't have access to it, but also because they're thinking, well, I'll put it out, and if I'm talented enough, something will happen, and if I'm not, it won't. Or I'm just as good as anyone else out there. I must be, throwing my things out there into the world and hoping something happens.
At the end of the day, you're actually what you're selling, right? Like the who you are musically. People seem to quickly veer away from that being important, and they become very fixated on the idea of I want to go viral. I want to have a viral moment on TikTok, or I need to build social media or whatever it is that people often will become very focused on. And although that at some point becomes important, the building social media at some point does become important. The very first most important thing is who are you? What's your artist identity? Who are you musically? Why are you unique? Why are you special? Why will you cut through all the noise of the 100,000 records that are put out every day? And why should people care? Like, other than I fluked into some sort of viral thing that actually no one can predict what's how that works or who's going to be successful that way. And even if you do weirdly, magically have some success that way, you will eventually run into the problem that you have not developed who you are artistically, what your your point of view is as a songwriter, what your point of view is from a production point of view, what your visual image is thoroughly. Like if it's really just if you're basing it all on somehow a thumbnail, a snapshot of who I am is going to light the world on fire. Even if that were to magically happen, then you would still be in the same position of, but who am I really? What am I really? The thing we cannot forget is, a career in music is about music. it's not
Believe it or not, it still
it,
actually does have something to do with
exactly.
music.
A
Yeah.
career in music is about songs and production and, you know, finding people who are excited about your your thing and feeling like your thing is unique and special in the world. Like that at the end of the day is super powerful and will determine really if you can really have success doing this. And as opposed to, wow, I'm a really slick marketer or I'm really lucky. Making a bunch of stuff and throwing it out on the internet is as much of an approach to a career as I'm going to buy 100 lottery tickets is a idea for fiscal, you know, this is how I'm going to make a living is I'm going to get $100 and buy 100 lottery tickets, and that's how I'm going to.
Yeah, it's not a strategy. And it for sure is not artist development. We're talking more about the music itself, your point of view, what you want to say. Yeah, and also maybe a lot of visual aesthetic stuff and how your live show is actually going to be amazing and something that becomes a conversation piece, right?
Yeah. I mean, I once had a very famous record company guy. We were having this chat about an artist that I was working with, and, we were talking about something being viral, going viral. And he said, he looked right at me, which was amazing. And he said, well, that's a miracle. And a miracle is not a artistic music plan. So you can
Yeah.
you can take that however you want.
Understand we're not saying you're supposed to sit alone at home and do this in a vacuum, but we will circle back around to, some of our recommendations around that at another point.